So, our plan for this session, here, is to make a model together. That we do that, and for that, we're going to go to the whiteboard. Here we are, and think about what we would like to have in our model. What the model is going to be up for this one here, we would like to illustrate it by an example. And as Santiago mentioned earlier, we have cheated a little bit because Santiago and I on Tuesday afternoon spent 5 minutes on just talking about what we should do, maybe a bit more, and then just thinking about what groups should we have in such a model. Our suggestion is that we make one that addresses the discussion that is a big discussion that is here in BC about the impact of marine mammals. And that's an impact that goes in several directions. We have a lot of things happening around what's the role of pinnipeds, both the Harbour Seals, Steller sea lions, the California sea lions, that have all increased a lot since culling was stopped in the early 1970s. Seals probably reached carrying capacity about 20 years ago. They haven't changed much in the last 20 years, possibly even decreased a little bit in recent years where the transient killer whales have become more abundant. There's a lot of studies looking at the impact of seals, indicating that they may take a couple of % of their annual diet being small salmon coming out of the rivers. So what kind of impact will that have? And you can look at it from the point of view that they only take a couple of %, but they eat quite a lot. And there's also quite a lot of smolt. So what is the impact of that? So that's one question that should be addressed. There's also a question that relates to, we associate with this is, of course, a big decline for some groups, a decline in salmon, depends on which species of salmon we're talking about, and the impact that may have on killer whales, especially southern western killer whales, which have decreased a little bit in the last 20 years. While the northern western killer whales have increased and the transient killer whales are doing pretty well. So one can look at this in different ways, and I can tell you, I have a couple of students that will probably come and talk about this. Greg is looking at the state of Georgia. He's looking at what's happened to salmon, Greg Oldford, and he has, as part of this, he's been looking at system productivity or a long time period, and modeling this using hydrographic models combined with a spatial model, looking quite in detail of what happens around the different salmon population runs, and looking at predation on seals as part of it, and also on impact relationship between southern western killer whales and adult seals. So that's quite a bit happening there. And Fanny Couture is working on another model looking at the impact of marine mammal predation, again with a focus on southern western killer whale. For her, we'll focus on southern western killer whale. For Greg, it's more focused on salmon. But where we have the dilemma or the interesting aspect that southern western killer whales are decreasing somewhat, and northern western killer whale, whom they have an overlapping territory here in the northern part of the strait and on the west coast of Vancouver Island, are increasing. And then you have transients coming in and impacting the seals, which again impacts further down on salmon. So there is some interesting plays there. Now, one reason for making a model of this, one really good reason for me is that let me start again. Is there one thing I really am afraid of, then that's a professional opinion, that we based our opinions on that we use professional opinions to say what will happen and so on. I by far prefer to use, when we're talking about complex issue, to use models to derive that and to see what can these models tell us and what can't they tell us. So that's kind of the purpose and the background for this exercise that we'll be engaging in here. So let's construct a conceptual model for interactions between killer whales, seals, salmon in Strait of Georgia. That's what we like to do. For that, let's figure out what kind of functional groups or species should we have in our model. Suggestions, please. This is a group exercise.
I'd say that we need phytoplankton. Because
now, do we?
It feeds everything.
It feeds everything, and that's where we get ecosystem productivity in, because one of the questions, and that's really when DFO is working with this, let's say that 99% or maybe 95% of what they're doing is focused on bottom-up effects. It will be really convenient for DFO if the explanation for why the salmon is going down is climate change. That's because that's not their problem. That's not their fault, and so on. And that would be really nice. Then you don't have to do anything about it. So yeah, Santiago, put them in.
So in order to add things, you can go to View Options, Annotate, and then there's a text thing. So I'm gonna put this right here. Oh.
You can put them anywhere, but I have the power to move them to make a nice flowchart.
So it should appear now.
They are there now. Any other suggestions?
Salmon.
Say?
Salmon.
Salmon. Yes, let's put salmon. Dana, would you put salmon in? And then we just have to.
So
somewhere you can find text.
Yeah. If you when you look at the full screen, there's something that it says you're viewing Billy's screen, and right next to it,
yeah.
Did it work?
Now, I think just one thing, which is the Chinook, the killer whales are eating the adult salmon. So maybe you will put salmon and then AD adult afterwards. Continue with that. Can you add adult to it?
I'm trying. I don't think I can.
Oh, maybe it's because I moved it.
Yeah. Oh.
I can do this that way, which also
means,
I
could add a new one.
You can add a new one. You have to add a new one, call it salmon adult, and I'll just remove the other one. There's an eraser. I can get rid of those. And then you obviously also have to do a salmon juvenile. Are you adding that, Dana? What? Oh, that's Santiago putting zooplankton in. Good. We have salmon adult and salmon juvenile. Yeah. What else would we need in the model?
Harbour Seals. Yeah, the killer whales.
Yeah, put them in. And killer whales, we.
How do you add themes? Sorry, I can't figure that out.
So go to view options, then there's a drop-down menu,
Okay.
and there's one thing called annotate,
Oh, okay.
and then
Okay.
you can click on text, and that will allow you.
So we have like
Okay,
two killer whales, like, because you mentioned that the Western one was like reacting differently to the Northwestern one, I think.
Yeah, let's focus, since we're talking south, since we are focusing on southern western killer whale, and we want to make this as simple as possible, we're just going to do killer whales in this model here. The competition between marine mammals, southern and northern, that's the next step. That's what Fanny is working on. She'll come and talk about this later. So killer whales, yeah. Now, one, what happened? Oh, we lost salmon. Oh, no, back again. Sea otters, yeah, they're interesting, but it's not something that we need for, they're not in Strait of Georgia. So they go out again. There is some discussion about Harbour seals. Yes, they eat juvenile salmon, but they also eat something that may be preying on juvenile salmon. And that's a very big biomass that is out there of hake. So I suggest if you put hake in. That's one of the hypotheses that's been brought forward to a large extent because of Ecopath Ecosim model made 15 years ago with poor parameters for hake, overestimating their consumption. That's one of the reasons why hake are in there. So we have a system somewhat like this now. We need something about. Actually, I would like one thing more in it. When you're talking about Strait of Georgia, krill euphorsids are actually a really important link between the plankton and the fish populations. It's a big biomass. There's a fishery for euphorsids, for krill out here. Not a big one, but there is substantial biomasses. So I would like to see those as well. And now we need some arrows. We have salmon twice.
Yeah,
I'm just
Billy,
going. Yeah.
So salmon, both adults and juveniles, are only eating zooplankton and krill. Do we need a?
We need an other food.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we can't. We won't have enough. So other food.
Other food. Okay.
Oh, I see. We give, someone put in sea lions, and they are important for, and they're probably quite important for returning salmon. But as a start, I would leave them out and then gradually add more, because we really don't want to complicate this more than we have to. I think other food is there. I think we have about it now. Let's, I'm just going to move things a little bit around so it'll be easier to draw some of these arrows that we need. So if you go in draw, I think you can make arrows, and if you put in arrows, if we get too many, I'll remove them. But you draw them from. I'll give you an example here. From hake. Juvenile salmon may be eaten by hake, so I go energy flow is how I go, not predator attacking prey, but this is where the energy flow is. Let's see some more of these arrows, please. That would be juvenile salmon. There is a flow from juvenile salmon to adult salmon, but it's not much energy that flows that way. They grow up, but I think I would see if I can. Yeah, exactly. Harbour seals mainly eat the juvenile. They also eat, but they also eat. That's where most concern has been on from juvenile to harbour seals. Well, what happens to our killer whales? And we want two kinds of killer whales, by the way. We want resident and we want the transients. The transients being the one that eat harbour seals. Yes. I'm just going to move the if I can do that, the southern western over to where the arrow are, and then we need transients too. Yeah. And the transients will be eating the harbour seals, and they, in order to feed them, we also have to have them eating other food. Otherwise, we won't have enough food for them.
But do we need that other food to be above or below the prey items for salmon?
Where they are here, that's not.
Okay, that's not complicated.
Ecopath will sort that out. But we do need a link there from other food to transients.
Okay. And what are adult salmon eating? Other food, krill?
They're eating krill, and we need herring. It's one of the big biomasses.
That's on other foods right now.
We could. Yeah, we could. Herring is such a nice species. I started as a herring biologist. We eat herring where I come from. Yeah. Herring also eat krill. Salmon adults, they're eating other food, they're eating krill, they're eating herring. Yeah. Salmon juvenile, yeah, they actually don't eat much zooplankton. That's okay. You know,
Apes only eating salmons, or should they also eat other food?
Right, second.
Are hake only eating juvenile salmon, or they should also be eating other food?
Hake. Oh, they eat other food. They eat krill. They eat herring. Yeah. Now, I think, let's see, how harbour seals eat herring as well. Major food. Herring have about 10% oil, so good and fat, and not what you need to make blubber. In Norway, the resident killer whales mainly eat herring. Herring are a bit bigger there, but it's kind of interesting that here they're specialized and really love Chinook.
It's interesting because the southern residents are also really only interested in large Chinook.
Especially, yeah.
So
maybe they're more lazy. I don't know, but it's interesting how different they are for killer whales from different places. Yeah. How about the ones eating skate? Skate is not exactly a oil-rich species. Okay, we have a flow chart now. And when we're coming to the session where we'll be making these models, I'll be talking more about what you can deduct just from a conceptual model like this. There are a number of analyses that can be done, loop analysis and other things that can be used to just get information about what happens in such a system here based on just this thing without any numbers on it. You can deduct some characteristics from this. You may have loops. There's something called runaway loops and stabilizing loops. depending on what happens there. So that we'll talk more about that when we get to the constructing more of these. Right now, all I think we should think about is just if we look at this here, we could actually look at such things as the transient. If you look at just the Harbour Seals, when we talked about the mixed trophic impact, we talked about how we could say something about what impact one species would have on another system or another group. So in this case here, Harbour Seals would have a negative impact on juvenile salmon because they eat it. Harbour Seals would have a negative impact on herring, which is also being eaten by adult salmon, at least those that are resident here. So that would also be a negative impact, indirect negative impact by Harbour Seals on the adult herring. But then Harbour Seals also eat hake, and hake eats juvenile salmon. So you can start exploring this kind of things just from a conceptual food web. So to me, that's one of the interesting aspects of just getting things like this sort of down on a piece of paper or whiteboard.
And
it's just, yeah.
No, Billy, please finish your idea.
No, go.
I was just going to say that different biologists or ecologists are going to have different approaches to these things. So if you talk to someone from Evgeny's lab, they might be offended because we have a group called zooplankton, and we don't have like gelatinous zooplankton. And if you're dealing with like the junk food hypothesis, you might need to have a little bit more information about those groups. If you're talking to a bird ecologist, like why aren't any birds in this model? Where, like for me, it's like where are the fisheries, right? And we need at least a fleet, right? And so you will get complexity depending on the kind of questions that you're trying to address. But this is essentially a mice model, and we can use this to address a ton of questions without getting any deeper into details, which is really neat.
Yeah. Well, we could put in a fishery.
I mean, I think we should, just because.
And because one keeps simple, let's just look at fishery, just one fishery, a fleet. When we get to Ecosim, which we hopefully will here, we only have 25 minutes left. Oh, then they take hake, they take salmon, they take herring. Though actually, we don't even have to worry about the herring fishery. Yeah, they take various things. What is interesting is, of course, when we're talking about what has happened to salmon, the question becomes, what's the role of fishery? What's the role of southern western killer whale? What's the role of Harbour Seals? Maybe something about herring too, but herring are doing fairly well for the last 20 years in the Strait, pretty well. So that's not as concerning. So these are the kind of things we would put into a model. Let's see, can I?
You can save. On the right.
I can save, but I didn't figure out where it was.
Oh, you can also like capture your screen.
Yeah, that's, oh, show and find it. I have it here. Got it. Whiteboard. I'm just going to print it. And then the challenge is to make a model in 15 minutes. That's going to be quite interesting. Actually, I can just I have it now. I don't need the printed version. I can just put that up on the side. All right. That's our conceptual model. Any questions here? Kathleen, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm just having connection issues, so that's why I have my video turned off.
Yeah, okay, I just hadn't heard it recently, so good. Let's stop this sharing. I will start. I should, Santiago. Should I get you to make the model instead of me? It's
Oh,
just because I tend to do too quick, which might be a good idea if there's 20 minutes left. I'm not sure.
I would have to connect to the other computer.
Okay.
Maybe we can get Elena to model it.
I can let me do it.
fine.
Let me. Sorry.
Oh, I just said that it's fine if you want me to do it. I can try.
Okay. I will have to talk you through it rather quickly.
I'll try to
Because,
open Ecopath first.
the challenge is we have 20 minutes.
Oh God. New model. Okay. I don't know if I can share my screen.
You should be able to. Don't you have a share screen?
Yeah, I'm trying.
I think
You are allowed to do it.
Can you see Ecopath?
yeah, we can.
Okay.
Okay. Now you go. So you go define groups, and then you click like 10 or so. Insert here. You can always add some more. You make the group name. See, I need to be able to see my.
So phytoplankton.
No, we start the other way. We start from the
sorry.
top of the food web. Transient killer whale. Make the column bit wider. You can expand it. Yeah, transient. And then SRKW, Southern Western killer whale. Almost there. And then we have seals. The next would be salmon adult. Salmon juvenile. We have hake. Herring. Other food. Krill. Zooplankton. Is that the right number?
We are missing one. We're missing.
Unless you force it. So go up to insert.
Here.
There we go.
And then you put euphorsets or krill. Well, you have krill. So what
Yeah,
are you
but-
missing?
Is phytoplankton? Can I
Yeah.
move it down?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, you can move down. Phytoplankton, sorry. So it was the right number? Now it is the right number.
Now it is.
Now phytoplankton is a producer. So you have to remember to change that. And then you go up to salmon by number 4. And you go out to multi-stanza group name. You write salmon there.
I do that here too?
No, you don't write it. You use you need for the second one, you use the drop-down list, not for the first one. That's okay. For the second one, use the drop-down list because it has to be spelled exactly the same way. Otherwise, it gets confused. And then you go one to the right. See here, now we're going to, for salmon, we're going to make it an age-structured model. We'll keep track for every month of how many is recruited and what happens. So it has kind of different kinds of dynamics. It's age-structured, not pool-structured, like one group for the other ones. Here we want to have adult and juvenile. So for the adult, I would say 8 months. And then we have we just don't, that's everything above the juvenile stage, the small stage that are being eaten by salmon, by seals. 8 months there.
8. So
Just 8 months, yeah, should be fine. One more thing I like to do is colors on the right. Use random over there. If you go out to the right, way out to the right, colors, click random.
Okay.
Yeah, the other color, you can click it a few times until you find something you like. Okay, it's just easier to set that the scale there is kind of difficult to tell the difference. If you have, it's okay with 10, but if you have 20, it's too difficult. Okay, Now we have our model. Groups defined.
Oh God, already.
It talks Spanish to us. What is this? Accepted then.
Values out of range.
Yeah, don't worry
Try.
about this.
Okay,
These are useless comments.
I can't kind of
You
get
can't-
rid
you
of it.
just, no, you have to do it 3 or 4 times, and then it'll be okay.
Okay.
Just continue.
Yep.
Just click accept. No, accept a few times more. This
Oh,
will
there we are.
disappear.
There we
Okay.
go.
Sorry for that.
Oh, now this system is so robust you don't have to save your model. It's just if for maybe maybe it's a good idea to save it.
Okay.
You saved the, oh, you have saved it.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
good.
You said to save it or to not save it?
No, save it.
Okay.
I was being only silly.
Always save your model.
It seems to be saved, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's put things in here, and we just do it as we look at it here. Biomass is first. Transient kilowatts is not that high. Sorry, this is I cheat a little bit here. I looked at it. So I have an idea from working not recently, but I work with Fanny and I work with Greg, and I have an idea about what these biomasses would be from here. 0.01 for south and western killer whale, something like 4 times as many, 0.04. No, 0.04.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, seals like 0.1. Depends a lot on whether we're talking 1970 model or present day model. This here is a kind of compromise. You can't add it for multi-stand, so we do that separately. So we go down to hake. Hake is a pretty big biomass, more like 10. Herring more like 15. Now, other food is everything else. We don't want any, when we're doing a quick model like this, we don't want any lack of food there. So we give it 100. So we're not concerned about the dynamics of this group. We just want a pool there that we can take from. Krill is more like 20. Zooplankton 30 and phytoplankton 30 as well. And the detritus, you put 10. The detritus biomass is not used for anything but other than plotting an Ecosim, because what matters is there's no dynamics for it. See, all the groups out to the right are blue, because it's only flow in and flow out of that group that matters. That's all we have. Yes, Natalie. Production biomass is the next. Now, remember for production biomass that if you invert this, you get longevity. How long does a group live? So that tells us something about what that parameter should be. So for instance, for transients and for south and western killer whales, it's about the same. If you put in 0.04, 0.04, that you invert that, you get 25, meaning the average killer whales live for 25 years. Yeah, that's pretty much okay. Seals, 0.15. That means about 6-7 years on average. Yeah. Hake, several years, 0.4 maybe. Herring, say 1. Yeah. Other food, we can, doesn't really matter. We just want them to be productive. Use 5. Krill is around 5 or 6 maybe. Zooplankton depends on size a lot, but something, if it's smaller zooplankton, maybe 20. That, no, not, yeah, 2, 3, 4 millimeter would be around 20. And for phytoplankton, they turn over quite rapidly, so 120 or something like that. For transients, it's about 10 times the biomass per year. You can get that from how much do they eat per day and how many days out in the year and so on, but about 10. No, yeah. And it's a little bit higher for south and western, probably because they eat fish and not blubber like the transients. So 12. Seals would be higher again, more like 20. We have a pretty energetic ones. Hake, it's going to be 4 or 5 times their PB. So if you put 2 to make it easy. Herring 1, so that's 4.
Sorry, I lost.
4. No, 2 is 2 and 4, yeah. Next one would be about 20. Krill, 6 times 4 is 24. Zooplankton would be 80 then, if we do 4 times. Consumption being 4 times the production, yeah, 80. So that's what we need here. And then we can go to diets.
Should I save?
Yeah. Number 1 is transit killer whale. They eat seals. So because they spend a lot of times outside, maybe around 5%, 0.05. And then other food for the rest. Two is salmon. 2 is south and western killer whale. They eat adult salmon. They're really specialized one. 3 is seals. Seals will be eating smolt. Now, it varies here 2% Chinook, 1% of this species, 1% of that, and we add up. It's of the order of 4% of the diet.
So 4% here.
4% there, yeah. And then they eat, seals, they also eat hake. Let's hake be, maybe hake is, let's say 30%, herring 30%. And now we look down at the bottom, we have 36% left, we put that in other food. And that brings us to adult salmon. They eat herring, euphorsets, and other food. So you can do like hake 30, herring 40, and other food 30.
30, 40.
And 0.3, yeah. And the next one there is juvenile salmon. They're going to be eating zooplankton in our model. In reality, they would eat a lot of insects and other things too that drop down on the water. Hake, they eat some, let's see, hake would be eating a little bit, make it 1% of them being juvenile salmon. One up. Oh, one further up.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, 1%. No, not 10%, 1%. And then they would eat herring, there might be 40%. And other food would then be 59%. 7 is herring, let's eat them, so krill 30% and 70% zooplankton. 8 is other food, let them eat detritus. Let them eat cake.
One of it?
One, yeah. We're not interested, and we don't want to study their dynamics or anything. And that leaves us with 9, which is krill. They are going to be eating zooplankton. See if that will work. Maybe too much. And 10 is zooplankton. They eat phytoplankton. All right, then you go to fishery. Landings. So our fleet there would be eating salmon adult. Let's try 1. Go down to salmon adult 1. And then we go down and we take hake, maybe 1 as well, and herring 1 as well. That's it, save it, and let's see if it balances.
We need to put the multi-stanza.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're missing.
Oh, multi-stanza, basic input.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, God. So,
Whoops. They would have warned us. Yeah, accept a few times.
there we are.
Yes. So we have one multi-stanza group. Now the leading biomass is going to be a juvenile there. No, adult. Try something like 4 adult biomass. 4 ton, yeah. They're not. This is all. These are basically we have all our salmon in one group. Then you have to enter total mortalities for them for both groups. This is mortality rates. It's something like 1 for the adult and 4 for the juvenile. These are reasonable estimates. 4 meaning that only 5% of the juveniles or 10% of the juveniles, something like that. It's X of -4, whatever that is. It's a few percent survives. And for consumption biomass, we can take the adult. Again, as the leading, we only have to specify for one group. And we can do something like 4. That's 4 times as many again. And then you press calculate. And we get our model here showing how, with these parameters, what kind of model we have. So we have the red being numbers. We have the blue being the weight of the individuals. And then we have, you multiply the red and the blue, and you get the black, which is the population biomass with age. Okay.
Okay, I press OK.
Okay. And now we go Ecopath output basic estimates and watch it scream at us.
Oh, good. Can you see the messages that come up?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So we don't have enough hake, and we have too much consumption on herring. Okay. So you go Ecopath output mortality rates. You look at mortalities. We see that it's for herring, it's exactly the same as the fishing. We just need a little bit more herring, and we need. Well, let's go one down over on the left to today's mortality rates, and we look across for hake. It's group 4 salmon. Group. What? Salmon adults should not be eating hake. We moved that. That's a mistake. Quite simply a mistake.
Okay. So I go back to
diet composition. Yeah, they should be moved down. The 0.3 for hake should go down to krill instead.
Sorry, I'm lost.
Yeah, there.
Delete that one.
Delete that one.
Delete that one.
And go down to krill. 0.3. Yes, and then we need a little bit of more herring. So we're just going to go back to basic input, and we're going to make herring biomass 20 instead of 15. And then you go basic estimates.
Oh, it does the screen. Yeah.
This fits, and this, it's reasonable numbers. It's that we have in this model now. And the thing about this model is now, can we make it do what we would like to do with it? Can we make it see what the impact is? We can refine it and so on, but getting a model to do things is the first step, and to see what it cannot do. 1055, we constructed the model. I think we are going to spend a bit more time on it. It may not be today though, but just for the sake of it, let's go to Ecosim. Ecosim.
Okay.
Output. One Ecosim. It's the same principle again as I mentioned before. Shoot first, run first, and then think later. That's what I suggest. That explore your model and figure out what the weaknesses are and what the strengths are, and where the uncertainty really comes in. Just click a run.
Yeah, trying to
lower right.
Oh, was hiding.
That happens. So we run this 100-year simulation here, and we get a flat line. Great, nothing changes. This is relative biomass. Nothing changes. Let's just go to usually, yeah, but with 4 minutes left, no. Instead, we're going to go to over on the left, Ecosim input fission mortality.
Input.
Fishing mortality. We can't do fishing effort because we only have one fleet, but this is fishing mortality. We can impose a fishing mortality, not on transients, but number 3 is seals. Let's go and do some culling. Fish mortality is fish mortality rates, and they cannot, you have to keep it down. If you take your mouse and you have to stay below 0.1, that would be 0.1 would be a really high one. So just put your mouse down by 0 all the way down, like where it says 11, where it says 11 there on the axis. Go a little bit up to the right, go to the right and a little bit up. Not that far up, a little bit further down. Just go to the right. Just pull it out to the right now.
Like flat?
Yeah, just pull fast out. Yeah, or a little bit up. You can go up now.
Oh God.
That's going to kill them. That's fine. Just go all the way to the right.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, that's fine.
Okay.
See, we changed the axis here.
That's all
So
right.
you can just leave it like this and go around
Okay.
again.
Sorry, my mouse is really bad on the laptop.
And
It's
you're doing
working.
this under pressure, so it's okay.
See, now we're killing off the seals. And what kind of reactions do we get to it?
Okay, so how would
You
do
can
this?
put your mouse on. You can do all, and then you can put your mouse over on Harbour. Over. Okay, we can see transits are going down because they're eating seals. South and western killer whales, they're coming up. Seals going down. Salmon adult. No big change
Pretty
because
stable.
the juvenile, they will be impacted by juveniles going down, going up, but they're also going to get more killer whales eating them.
Okay,
Hake. What happens to hake increases? That's what we
Glaciation.
thought would happen. Yeah, herring.
going down.
Yeah,
Oh, this one is flat.
yeah. Other folks who we want flat because that's our other group that we really just a catch-all group. So we're getting a behavior here. Now it's rough data. There's no history in it. We haven't seen if this model can replicate the history. We could go back to and change the, if it impacts, if we model the history of this ecosystem, we would have changed the vulnerabilities. That indicates how far these groups are from carrying capacity. Well, when we start the model, we already know something about that, and we can put it in. And this kind of information can go in to inform the model, just as we start off here. You will add more and more data to it, but you can actually get started just with something as simple as this. That's what we'll be doing. Then after reading week, we'll be doing more and more of this kind of analysis and putting more and more data in it over a course of a few weeks. So that's our challenge. I think for this exercise here, we can stop here today. Elena, if you would
Save this.
save your model, yeah.
Save.
And then if you zip it and you send it to us, I think you have all our emails. If not,
Yeah,
you can
I
just
think
send it
so.
to me. Then we can
Yes.
we can continue playing with this a little bit as we move ahead.
Perfect. I'll send it. Should I stop sharing then?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So thank you, and for today, thank you to Santiago for being our host for this for this week. And looking ahead, I can see on, and we're probably going to see more of him. He's usually a little bit difficult to keep away, but that's great. Next week, Carl is going to be talking about the foraging arena. So please, before Tuesday, think about questions for this week. We can start with those, and then we'll talk about how we'll talk about Carl's presentations and maybe get him to talk more about that.
Perfect.
All right.
And this was super easy to build a model in 20 minutes and a value chain in less than an hour and like make sense of it. So yeah.
We did spend we did spend 45 minutes on it with the conceptual model.
Yeah.
It's feasible, and you can learn a lot just from a simple model like this. That's really the point we're trying want to get across here, that it doesn't, don't go out spending months and years getting all the data lined up, but get the model running and get an idea how it behaves and where you have to put more effort into it.
Cool. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
See you around.